The moment Caitlin's lips met another's, her life shattered into pieces. She had no idea who might have seen them, no clue what would happen next. But the sense of danger felt almost physical. In one night, everything she thought she could rely on, her husband, her job, her friendships, was suddenly at risk, and Caitlin found herself the main character in someone else's game, where the stakes were too high, and even her own feelings couldn't be trusted. But before you get comfortable, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments which city you're watching from, and what time it is there. I'm really curious to see who's joined us. Now, make yourself comfortable. Let's begin. Caitlin adjusted her pearl earrings in the hotel mirror, running her fingers through her long golden hair. She was 27, her figure tall and elegant, a narrow waist, rounded hips, and a confident posture that turned heads even when she tried to go unnoticed. Tonight, she wore a fitted white blouse with a faint blush sheen that hinted at the lace beneath, and a navy pencil skirt ending just above her knees, accentuating her slender legs and the soft curve of her hips. Her lingerie, delicate pink lace barely visible through the thin fabric, hugged her third-sized chest gently, offering comfort and an unfamiliar sense of adventure. She had said goodbye to Thomas that morning. Her husband's steady brown eyes reflected trust and maybe a hint of boredom. Or was it simply routine? He had kissed her forehead and said, "Have fun, work hard, I'll miss you." They were good together, stable. She knew what to expect from every day. But as she now looked out at the new city from her hotel room, her heart thudded with the thrill of being somewhere no one knew her. The hotel's lobby buzzed with laughter and the hum of dozens of conversations as the company's annual conference gathered speed. Caitlin didn't know most of these people, and she found herself both nervous and exhilarated. She glanced at her reflection one last time, her blue eyes sparkling with something she didn't dare name, then made her way downstairs. The welcome dinner was more like a party than a formal gathering. Music pulsed in the background, champagne flutes clinked, and everyone seemed just a little too dressed up. Her new colleague, Amanda, appeared at her side almost immediately. Amanda, just a year older, was striking. Shoulder-length chestnut hair, eyes a vivid emerald, a figure shaped like an hourglass. Rounded, full chest, a small waist, long shapely legs, revealed by a crimson dress that hugged her fourth-size breasts and the generous curve of her hips. Her laugh was bright, her smile open, and she wore confidence like another layer of perfume. "First time at one of these?" Amanda's voice was warm, teasing. Caitlin nodded. "It's obvious, isn't it?" Amanda winked. "Just a little. Relax. Everyone's here to unwind. Besides, you look amazing. That skirt does wonders for you." Caitlin felt herself flush, grateful for the compliment. They grabbed drinks, chatted about office gossip, and soon Caitlin felt the first tendrils of ease, laughter bubbling up in her chest. The room shifted as more colleagues arrived. Caitlin met Josh, tall, athletic, his dark hair artfully tousled, grey suit tailored to perfection. His eyes, deep hazel, lingered on her just a fraction longer than polite. Amanda leaned in conspiratorially. "Josh is the office heartbreaker. He's single, so be careful." Caitlin sipped her champagne, pretending not to notice the way Josh's gaze slid over her legs and then up to her face. He wore his confidence with an easy grace, hands slipping into his pockets as he joined their conversation. They laughed about the boss's awkward speech, swapped stories about travel mishaps, and compared notes on the city's best food. Gradually, the group shifted to the dance floor. Amanda grabbed Caitlin's hand. "Come on! You can't say no to music!" The beat was infectious. Amanda's dress shimmered as she spun, her hair catching the light. Caitlin let go, feeling herself dissolve into the rhythm, her own skirt swirling as she moved. Josh appeared beside her, offering his hand. His touch was gentle but confident, and she let herself be drawn in. The music slowed. Couples pressed closer together, the air charged with the possibility of something new. Caitlin felt Josh's hand rest at the small of her back, warm through the thin fabric. His cologne was subtle, clean, and masculine. They spoke little, exchanging smiles and silent understanding. Her heart pounded, not from nerves, but anticipation. When the song ended, Josh's hand lingered, his thumb tracing a slow circle at her waist. Caitlin tilted her face up, catching his gaze, and suddenly their lips met. Tentative at first, soft and questioning. His mouth tasted faintly of mint and champagne, and she parted her lips slightly, breath catching as his kiss deepened. For a moment, the world receded. The only thing that existed was the pressure of his lips, the warmth of his palm, the way her body responded. Heat pooling low in her belly. She felt his fingers slide up her back, just beneath the edge of her blouse. A feather-light touch that sent shivers down her spine. They broke apart just as suddenly, both breathless. Caitlin's cheeks flamed, and she saw herself mirrored in Josh's hungry, surprised eyes. Amanda appeared at her side, giving Caitlin a knowing look, but saying nothing. Caitlin quickly excused herself and retreated to the terrace, the cool night air prickling her skin. She stood alone for a while, fingers trembling, replaying the moment in her mind. Had she really just kissed a colleague? It had not felt wrong. It had felt exhilarating, forbidden, exactly what she had not realized she was missing. Her phone buzzed. A message from Thomas. "Miss you already. Sleep well." Guilt prickled, but excitement blazed brighter. Caitlin gazed at the city lights, pulse racing. This week was already nothing like she had expected, and it was only the first night. Caitlin woke early, sunlight spilling across her hotel room, the city humming with new promise outside the window. She tried to focus on her phone, on the work emails piling up, but her mind circled relentlessly around last night's kiss. She could still feel the ghost of Josh's lips on hers, his hand on her waist. The line between excitement and anxiety blurred within her, leaving her breathless. After a long shower, she dressed with extra care. Today, a pale lavender blouse that clung softly to her skin and a charcoal skirt with a subtle slit. Her underwear was a matching lilac lace set, soft and nearly weightless, highlighting the gentle curve of her hips and the swell of her chest. She took one last look in the mirror, noticing the way her golden hair fell in loose waves over her shoulders, and headed downstairs. Breakfast in the conference hall was noisy and cheerful. Amanda was already there, waving Caitlin over. Amanda looked as striking as ever, this time in a fitted emerald blouse and a narrow black skirt that hugged her generous figure. Her hair was pinned back, revealing a long neck and the subtle shimmer of a silver pendant resting above her full chest. "Rough night?" Amanda teased, her green eyes alight with mischief. Caitlin hesitated, then smiled. "You could say that." They talked easily, but every few moments Caitlin's gaze drifted across the room seeking Josh. He arrived late, hair slightly tousled, stubble along his jaw, his white shirt crisp against his tanned skin. He smiled when their eyes met. A brief, charged glance, and Caitlin felt heat rush to her cheeks. The day passed in a blur of meetings and seminars. Caitlin worked hard to appear focused, but she felt Josh's presence behind her every thought. Sometimes their hands brushed as they reached for a coffee or a notepad, and every touch lingered, sending sparks up her arm. Amanda noticed, her smiles turning knowing and sly. When the afternoon meetings ended, Amanda pulled Caitlin aside. "Walk with me?" They strolled through the hotel's garden, sunlight flickering through the trees. Amanda's laughter was easy, her conversation open. She asked about Caitlin's life, about Thomas, and Caitlin answered honestly, surprised at how much she wanted to share. Amanda's voice softened. "You know, you deserve to feel alive. We all do." Caitlin didn't reply. She only nodded, uncertain, feeling a pull in her chest she could not quite name. That evening, a dinner was planned at a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city. Caitlin wore a midnight blue dress, slim-fitting but modest, with thin straps revealing her smooth shoulders. The lace of her lingerie peeked just barely along the neckline. Amanda wore a white wrap dress, her hair loose in soft waves, her lipstick a bold berry red. Josh met them at the elevator. He wore a slate grey blazer, dark jeans, and a look in his eyes that made Caitlin's knees weak. Dinner was lively. Glasses of wine, stories, laughter. The city lights glittered below, the air full of possibility. After the meal, Amanda was swept away by other colleagues, and Caitlin found herself alone with Josh on the terrace. They leaned on the railing, side by side. The conversation grew softer, deeper. Josh spoke about dreams and disappointments, about moments that had changed him. Caitlin found herself opening up too, telling him secrets she had never told anyone, not even Thomas. A hush settled between them, broken only by the city's distant sounds. Josh reached out, gently tucking a loose strand of hair behind Caitlin's ear. "You're beautiful, Caitlin," he whispered. His hand slid to the nape of her neck, thumb brushing softly against her skin. The electricity between them was undeniable. He leaned in, his lips finding hers again, more urgent this time. Caitlin yielded, her body melting into his. His hand traced the line of her back, down to the small of her waist, his palm spreading across the curve of her hip. She gasped as his fingers grazed the edge of her dress, daring but respectful, his touch light as air. The sensation sent shivers racing across her skin. Their kisses deepened, hungry, searching. Josh's lips traveled to her jaw, her throat, while his other hand cupped her cheek, steadying her. For a breathless moment, the city vanished, replaced by the fire spreading inside her. She pressed closer, feeling the solid line of his chest, the warmth of his embrace. His hand skimmed along the silk of her dress, pausing at her hip, drawing tiny circles. Her breath came faster, heart racing, but she pulled back before they went too far. She saw the same longing, the same restraint, reflected in his eyes. They parted with reluctance, neither wanting to break the spell. "I should go," Caitlin murmured, voice trembling. Josh nodded, brushing his thumb along her knuckles. "Good night, Caitlin." She walked back to her room on trembling legs, her body still tingling with longing. As she closed the door behind her, her phone buzzed. At first, Caitlin thought it was Thomas, checking in as usual, but the message was anonymous, the words brief and chilling. "Be careful. Not everyone is who they seem." Caitlin stared at the screen, heart thudding. She reread the words, the thrill of the evening quickly replaced by uncertainty. Who could have sent it? Did someone see her with Josh? Was it Amanda, warning her as a friend? Or was it someone with darker intentions? Sleep came fitfully, her dreams restless and charged. The warning replayed in her mind, mingling with memories of Josh's touch and Amanda's knowing smiles. When she finally drifted off, it was with the feeling that something had shifted in her world. Something that could never quite be put back the way it was. She awoke before dawn, the city still dark outside her window, her heart beating with equal parts excitement and fear. This was more than just a business trip. Something was beginning, and she could no longer pretend she was in control. Caitlin spent the morning trying to push aside the message from the night before, but it lingered like a shadow. Her eyes lingered on every face she passed, searching for a hint of judgment or a knowing smirk. She could not help but wonder, who had seen her and Josh on the terrace? Was it Amanda, who now seemed more distant and distracted, or someone else entirely? The conference day was a blur of presentations and breakout groups. Caitlin forced herself to focus, but her thoughts were scattered. Every time she glanced at Josh across the room, their gazes met, briefly, hungrily, and each time it became harder to pretend nothing had happened. During a late morning workshop, Caitlin's phone buzzed quietly in her lap. She glanced down, expecting another message from the mysterious sender, but instead saw an email with the subject, "Urgent. Respond immediately." Her heart skipped. The message accused her of making a costly error in one of the project files, a mistake she knew she had not made. Caitlin's pulse hammered in her ears as she read the details. Someone had edited a document she'd worked on, inserting incorrect numbers, and then traced the error back to her. She felt exposed, like her carefully built reputation was slipping through her fingers. With shaking hands, she left the room and made her way to the quiet lobby, where sunlight fell in patterns across the polished floor. Josh found her there, leaning against a marble column, eyes full of concern. "Are you okay?" she explained in a whisper, her voice breaking. "Someone set me up. I can prove those numbers weren't mine, but..." He squeezed her hand, grounding her. "We'll fix it. You are not alone." Their faces were close, his presence a shield against her anxiety. For a moment, Caitlin just wanted to stay like this, protected, Wanted. Amanda appeared then, lips pressed into a tight line. "Can I talk to you?" she asked, eyes flickering to Josh. Caitlin followed Amanda into a quiet corner by a wall of glass. The view of the city was breathtaking, but Amanda's voice was cold. "You need to be careful, Caitlin. There are people here who play dirty, and they do not care who gets hurt." "Did you send the message?" Caitlin asked, searching Amanda's face for a clue. Amanda's features softened just a bit. "No, but I saw you and Josh last night. You are not the only one who noticed." A chill crawled down Caitlin's spine. Amanda looked genuinely worried, but there was something she was not saying. Before Caitlin could press her, Amanda gave her shoulder a gentle squeeze and disappeared into the crowd. Lunch was a tense affair. Caitlin sat with the group, barely touching her food. The atmosphere had shifted. Too many glances, too much whispering. It was not her imagination. Someone was watching her. Later that day, she received a call from her manager at headquarters, pressing her to explain the error. She did her best to defend herself, promising to look into it. The fear of failing in front of everyone gnawed at her insides. That afternoon, as she gathered her thoughts in the hallway, Josh appeared by her side. He reached out and touched her arm, his voice low. "Let's get some air." They walked out into the city, leaving the hotel's tension behind. The streets were alive with the pulse of strangers, and the anonymity calmed her nerves. They wandered into a small park shaded by old trees. They sat on a bench in the cool shade, away from curious eyes. Josh's hand found Caitlin's, his fingers interlacing with hers. He brushed his lips across her knuckles, then traced a line up her arm to her shoulder, the touch feather-light and full of promise. His other hand cupped her cheek, tilting her face toward him. "You do not have to be afraid with me," he murmured, kissing her slowly. The city's sounds faded, replaced by the beating of her heart. His lips traveled along her jaw, down her neck. She felt his hands slide beneath the soft fabric of her dress. Fingertips ghosting over the curve of her waist, tracing the delicate outline of her lilac underwear. She gasped, her breath catching as desire and fear tangled inside her. His touch was gentle, deliberate. Caitlin pressed closer, surrendering for a moment to the comfort of his embrace. She could feel his body tense with restraint, as if he too fought the urge to go further. He kissed her collarbone, his lips hot against her skin. Her hands found his chest, the warmth beneath his shirt thrilling her. The kiss deepened, heat pooling in her belly, until she broke away, trembling. They sat in silence, letting the moment linger between them. For a while all of Caitlin's worries faded. Here, in Josh's arms, the world felt far away. But the spell broke when her phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Amanda. "We need to talk alone." With a sigh, Caitlin excused herself from Josh and hurried back to the hotel. She found Amanda waiting by the elevators, arms folded, looking conflicted. Amanda glanced around, voice barely above a whisper. "There are things you do not know about Josh, about this company. You have to be careful. Someone is trying to use you, Caitlin." "Is it you?" Caitlin shot back, her patience thinning. Amanda shook her head, frustration clear in her eyes. "No, but I saw something last night. I cannot tell you yet, but please trust your instincts." Amanda pressed a hand to Caitlin's shoulder, holding her gaze. Caitlin saw a flicker of something else there. Fear, maybe, or regret. Later that night, as Caitlin changed for bed, she rummaged through her bag for her phone charger. Her hand brushed something silky and unfamiliar. She pulled it out. A lacy red thong, not hers. Definitely not the color or style she wore. Caitlin stared at it, her heart pounding. Where had this come from? Had someone put it there? Was this a warning or a threat? The shock made her knees weak. She sat on the edge of her bed, the strange underwear dangling from her fingers, dread rising in her chest. Had Amanda planted it to scare her? Or was it someone else? Someone with a darker motive? A knock sounded at her door. For a moment, Caitlin hesitated, then steeled herself and opened it. No one was there, just a folded piece of paper on the floor. She picked it up, hands shaking. "You are not as invisible as you think. Be careful who you trust." Caitlin closed the door, locking it tightly. Her eyes burned with confusion and woe, but also something more. A restless, burning desire to know the truth and to claim the freedom she had only just begun to taste. She placed the thong in her suitcase, turned off the lights, and lay awake. The city's distant pulse echoing the wild rhythm of her heart. Caitlin woke to a grey dawn, the hotel room unusually cold and quiet. Sleep had come only in fragments. Her mind a restless maze of questions. The mysterious thong in her suitcase. The notes. Amanda's half-confessions. None of it made sense. She stared at her reflection, studying the curve of her waist, the fall of her golden hair over her shoulders, and the uncertainty flickering in her blue eyes. She wanted answers. She needed them. She chose her outfit carefully, almost as armor. A fitted black dress with a square neckline that emphasized the elegant line of her collarbones and the gentle swell of her third-sized chest. Her underwear was a matching black satin set, the fabric cool against her skin, accentuating her slender hips and taut curves. She pulled on a soft grey blazer, wanting to feel strong. Downstairs, the hotel lobby was already alive. Colleagues clustered in small groups, their voices low, eyes sliding over Caitlin as she passed. She felt exposed, a sense of being watched pressing at her back. Amanda was nowhere in sight. She found herself seeking out Josh, tall and handsome as ever, his dark hair still slightly mussed from sleep, his strong jaw shadowed with stubble. He wore a navy button-down tucked into slim black pants, every inch of him radiating easy confidence. "Rough night?" he asked, concern threading his voice. Caitlin nodded, trying to smile. "I need to talk to Amanda, but I can't find her." Josh's brow furrowed. "She mentioned something about a meeting. Do you want me to help?" Caitlin hesitated. Was Josh really on her side? The warning notes returned to her mind. "No. I think I should handle this myself." Before he could reply, a new face appeared. Mark, a young man Caitlin had only seen in passing. He was about 28. His hair sun-bleached blonde and eyes a cool grey. He wore a crisp white shirt, open at the collar, and tailored slacks. There was a relaxed confidence about him, but something in his gaze was sharper, as if he saw more than he let on. "Caitlin?" Mark's voice was gentle, but there was a hint of something else beneath the surface. "Can I talk to you for a minute? Privately?" She hesitated, but curiosity won out. They stepped outside, the morning air brisk and fresh. Mark leaned against the stone railing, arms crossed. "I heard about what happened with your file. I want you to know not everyone here plays by the rules." She studied him, searching for hidden motives. "Why are you telling me this?" Mark's smile was wry. "Let's just say I know what it's like to be a target, and I know you did not make that error. Someone's trying to use you for leverage." Caitlin's pulse quickened. "Do you know who?" He shrugged. "I have suspicions, but it is complicated. This company has secrets, people looking out for themselves. Be careful who you trust." Caitlin nodded, not sure if she felt reassured or more afraid. As she turned to go, Mark touched her arm gently. "If you need help, find me." Back inside, Caitlin finally spotted Amanda by the elevators. Amanda's usual confidence was gone. She looked drawn, her green eyes wary. Today, she wore a fitted navy suit, the jacket nipped at her waist, and a pale silk blouse. Her chestnut hair was pulled back, and her makeup barely touched her pale skin. They moved to a quiet lounge, away from curious eyes. Amanda broke the silence first. "I owe you an explanation. Last night, I saw someone sneaking around your floor. I think someone's trying to set you up, Caitlin. And it might not just be about Josh." Caitlin leaned in. "What do you mean?" Amanda's voice. "You were not the only one who kissed someone that night. There were others watching. Someone took pictures. I think they want to use them as blackmail. Maybe against you, maybe against Josh." A cold weight settled in Caitlin's stomach. "Why?" Amanda shook her head. "It is not just office politics. There is money involved, contracts, even rumors of hush money. I thought I could handle it alone, but I was wrong." Caitlin reached across, taking Amanda's hand in hers. "You should have told me." Amanda squeezed back, her eyes glimmering with tears. "I was scared. I still am." A gentle quiet settled between them, the intimacy of confession drawing them close. Amanda's grip was warm, her fingers entwined with Caitlin's. For a moment, Caitlin felt something stir, an emotional closeness that was almost physical, a longing for comfort and connection. Amanda leaned in, her breath soft against Caitlin's cheek. "Thank you," Amanda whispered. Their faces were so close that Caitlin could see every detail. The sweep of Amanda's lashes, the curve of her lips. For a brief electric heartbeat, Caitlin wondered what it would be like to surrender to this closeness, to let herself be vulnerable in a new way. Amanda pressed her forehead gently to Caitlin's, and they sat like that, supporting one another. There was no rush, just a deep, shared understanding. Intimate, but not sexual. An emotional bond forged in secrecy. Their moment was interrupted by the shrill ring of Caitlin's phone. The screen lit up with Thomas's name. She stepped outside to answer, her heart thumping. "Hi, love." Thomas's voice was warm, but there was an edge of uncertainty. Is everything all right? Caitlin hesitated. She could hear her own breath, too loud in the silence. Yes, just busy. How are you? There was a pause. I got a message, Thomas said quietly. Someone sent me a photo. You kissing a man. Is it true? Caitlin's world tilted. For a second she could not breathe. Her voice came out hoarse, barely more than a whisper. Thomas, He waited, the silence stretching between them. Finally, he sighed. We'll talk when you come home. I just needed to hear your voice. The call ended. Caitlin stood on the empty sidewalk, shaking, her heart aching with guilt and fear. The walls were closing in. Inside, Amanda came to her side, eyes full of empathy. What happened? Caitlin told her everything, voice trembling. Amanda hugged her fiercely. You are stronger than you think. We will get through this. Later, Caitlin wandered the corridors in a daze. She passed Mark, who gave her a subtle nod, and Josh, who stood by a window, hands clenched at his sides. She wanted to talk to him, to demand answers, but the time was not right. That night, Caitlin sat alone in her room, staring out at the city lights. She felt exposed. Every secret she carried now a potential weapon for someone else. But she also felt a fierce determination rising. She would not let herself be used. She reached for her journal, writing down everything she remembered. Names, faces, conversations, the color of Amanda's eyes, the feel of Josh's hands, Mark's cryptic warnings. Every detail mattered now. As midnight approached, a final message flashed on her phone, unsigned as always. The game is only beginning. Are you ready to play? Caitlin set her jaw, a new resolve burning inside her. She was tired of running. If there was a mystery to solve, she would not be a victim. She would be the one to uncover the truth. The next morning arrived heavy and silent, as if the entire hotel was holding its breath. Caitlin had barely slept. Each hour had crawled by as she replayed Thomas's voice in her mind, the pain and disbelief in every syllable. Her secret was no longer hers. She was exposed. And not only to her husband, she chose her clothing with trembling hands. A fitted cream blouse, unbuttoned just enough to hint at the pale blue lace beneath, and a pencil skirt that hugged the gentle flare of her hips. She wanted, in some small way, to reclaim power over how she was seen. The lingerie felt both daring and like armor, holding her together even as everything threatened to unravel. She swept her golden hair up into a neat chignon, eyes shadowed but steady in the mirror. At breakfast, the mood was different. People were more subdued, their glances sharper, and she could feel whispers following her through the room. Amanda joined her at a quiet table, looking drawn but determined. She wore a deep purple blouse tucked into high-waisted black pants, her usual confidence masked by worry. They're talking about you, Amanda said quietly, sipping her coffee. Someone's spreading rumors. They say you tried to sabotage the project and used Josh to cover it up. Caitlin's chest tightened. Who? Amanda hesitated, then nodded toward a group by the window. Mark stood among them, voice low, but his eyes kept flicking to Caitlin. She didn't know if he was a friend or a foe. As the morning wore on, the conference descended into chaos. Senior management called a meeting. Caitlin was summoned to explain herself. The room felt colder than ever, filled with faces both familiar and hostile. She spoke with calm she did not feel, laying out her evidence, describing the timeline, and quietly but firmly denying the accusations. All the while, she could sense Mark watching her, his expression unreadable, and Amanda's silent support beside her. Josh was brought in for questioning next. Caitlin caught his eye as he entered. His usually confident stride slowed, worry etched across his face. He wore a charcoal suit, the jacket straining across broad shoulders, and his hair was neatly combed, but his hands shook as he sat. "Did you have a personal relationship with Miss Reynolds outside of work hours?" the HR manager asked pointedly. Josh glanced at Caitlin, then nodded. "Yes, but it had nothing to do with the project or her work. She is not responsible for any errors." The questioning grew more intense, with accusations of conspiracy and collusion. Caitlin felt herself drowning in the heat of the moment, her pulse racing. She wanted to scream. Finally, the session ended, leaving her drained, her body trembling with the aftermath. Amanda pulled her aside in the hallway. "You do not have to go through this alone. I can help, if you let me." For a moment, Caitlin wanted nothing more than to disappear. But Amanda's warmth steadied her. She let herself lean in, accepting comfort. In the quiet of a deserted corridor, Amanda pressed her hands to Caitlin's shoulders, eyes full of understanding. Their embrace was close, Amanda's breath warm on Caitlin's cheek. For an instant, Caitlin melted into the closeness, feeling Amanda's arms tighten around her. It was not passion, but something deeper. Promise that she was not alone. Amanda's hand slid along Caitlin's back, her touch soft and reassuring, as if anchoring her in the storm. A single tear slipped down Caitlin's cheek, and Amanda brushed it away gently, their faces close enough to share a single breath. "You are stronger than you think," Amanda whispered, their foreheads touching. The warmth of Amanda's body seeped into Caitlin, lending her courage. The emotional storm gave Caitlin the strength to act. She texted Thomas, asking if they could talk, but received only silence in return. Her chest ached with the weight of uncertainty. As the afternoon sun painted long shadows across the conference room, Caitlin received a message from Mark. "Meet me in the lobby. It's urgent." She found him near the elevators, his posture tense, suit jacket slung over one arm. He glanced around before speaking. "I know who's behind all of this," he said in a low voice. "It's not Josh. Someone higher up wants you out. Maybe both of you." "Why?" Caitlin demanded. Mark's eyes softened. "You are smart, and you saw too much. The project's numbers were cooked before you got here. Someone thought you'd find out. Now they're using your personal life to distract everyone." Caitlin felt anger surge through her veins. "Who?" Mark shook his head. "I don't have proof yet, but you should be careful. Tonight, there's going to be a confrontation. Don't be alone." The lobby suddenly felt crowded, voices echoing off marble and glass. Caitlin caught sight of Josh standing with his back to the entrance, phone pressed to his ear. She hurried over, drawn to the safety of his presence. They slipped outside into the golden glow of evening. The city hummed around them, distant and unconcerned. Josh turned to her, voice tight with emotion. "I'm so sorry, Caitlin. I never meant for you to get hurt." He brushed a strand of hair from her face, his fingers trembling. Their eyes met, and the tension snapped. He pulled her into his arms, kissing her fiercely. Their bodies pressed close, her blouse, cool silk, against his shirt. The heat between them undeniable. His hands moved down her back, tracing her spine, cupping the curve of her waist. She clung to him, seeking solace in his embrace. His lips moved along her jaw, down her throat. For a moment the world disappeared. No rumors, no accusations, just the two of them in the hush of dusk. His touch was urgent but careful, as if he needed her as much as she needed him. Her heart pounded as she surrendered to the moment, their connection deep and desperate. Then footsteps echoed nearby. They broke apart, breathless, as a hotel staff member glanced at them with raised eyebrows. Caitlin's face flushed, but Josh only squeezed her hand, defiant. They returned inside, tension mounting. The final conference dinner was about to begin, and the air crackled with anticipation. Caitlin saw Amanda talking with Mark, their heads close together. Across the room, the senior management team gathered, their expressions hard. Then, just as Caitlin found her seat, her heart froze. Thomas was there, standing near the entrance, suitcase in hand. His presence sent a ripple through the room. For a moment, everything went silent. Thomas's eyes met Caitlin's. There was pain, confusion, and something else. Determination. Amanda whispered at Caitlin's side. "It's time. You have to face this, whatever comes next." The evening had turned from mystery to open conflict. Secrets hovered just beneath the surface, ready to shatter the fragile peace of the past few days. And as the first course was served, Caitlin realized that nothing would ever be the same again. For a long moment, Caitlin and Thomas just stared at each other across the crowded conference room. Everything seemed suspended. The clink of glass, the hum of conversation, even her own breath. Amanda touched her arm in quiet support, but Caitlin hardly noticed. She saw only her husband, suitcase by his side, dressed in dark jeans and a navy sweater, the lines of fatigue stark on his face. His eyes, always kind, now shimmered with uncertainty. Thomas crossed the room. The crowd parted, curious and whispering. He stopped a few steps away, searching her face. "Caitlin, can we talk? Alone?" Her heart pounded. She nodded and followed him into a small lounge down the hall, leaving the swirl of colleagues and rumors behind. She glanced back, seeing Amanda and Josh both watching, worried. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of fresh coffee and tension. Caitlin took a seat, fingers twisting nervously. Thomas sat across from her, setting his suitcase aside. For a moment, neither spoke. "I got on a plane as soon as I saw that photo," Thomas began, voice low and steady. "I needed to see your face. I needed to hear the truth from you, not from someone else." Caitlin's throat tightened. She met his gaze, not looking away. Thomas, I'm sorry. I made mistakes. I let things go further than I should have. I never wanted to hurt you. He looked away, hands gripping his knees. Do you love him? The question lingered in the air, painful and honest. Caitlin shook her head. No, I was lost, confused. Josh was kind to me, he listened, but it was never love. I love you, Thomas. I felt invisible, like I was disappearing in our routine. I needed to remember who I am. Thomas let out a shaky breath. I wish you'd told me. I was afraid you wouldn't understand, Caitlin whispered. Afraid it would break us. Thomas nodded slowly, pain in his eyes, but also relief. Thank you for telling me the truth. A quiet moment passed, full of everything unspoken. Then Thomas reached for her hand, his touch gentle and warm. We're not perfect, Caitlin, but I'd rather face the truth than live a lie. She squeezed his hand, a tear slipping free, not of sadness, but of release. I want to go home with you, she said softly. A gentle knock sounded at the door. Amanda entered, glancing between them. I'm sorry, but Caitlin, you need to see this. It cannot wait. In the hallway, Amanda handed her a folder. Mark found this. It proves you were set up. The files were altered by someone in the finance department. He managed to recover the metadata. Inside the folder were printouts, emails, logs, the digital fingerprints of another colleague. At the bottom, a formal confession from Mark's investigation. Caitlin's breath caught. She hugged Amanda fiercely. Thank you. I do not know what I would have done without you. Amanda smiled, her eyes bright. You deserve the truth, and you are not alone. Back in the main hall, Mark stood beside Josh, both waiting. When Caitlin showed the documents to the management team, everything changed. The real perpetrator, a senior analyst, was exposed, his nervous confession echoing through the room. Apologies came quickly, along with promises to clear Caitlin's name. The pressure lifted at last, replaced by a giddy relief. Josh came to her side, offering a gentle smile. I'm glad the truth is out. I hope you find what you're looking for, Caitlin. She reached up, hugging him briefly. Thank you, Josh, for everything. As the evening wore on, Caitlin and Thomas returned to her hotel room. For the first time in days, the door closed on the world and left only the two of them. Thomas touched her cheek, his eyes searching hers. She kissed him, slow and sure. A kiss not of apology, but of promise. Her hands traced the familiar lines of his body, rediscovering the warmth she thought she had lost. He drew her close, his touch gentle and passionate. The anxiety and secrets between them melted, replaced by laughter and tears, confessions and forgiveness. They undressed slowly, savoring every moment, the pale blue lace slipping away as their bodies found each other again. In the hush of the night, Caitlin felt something new, freedom and hope, even after pain. Much later, as Thomas slept, Caitlin stepped out onto the balcony. The city sparkled below, alive with possibility. She hugged her arms around herself and smiled, a quiet sense of strength blooming inside her. Amanda joined her a moment later, her presence warm in the cool air. They leaned on the railing, the wind tugging at their hair. "So what happens now?" Amanda asked, her voice soft, eyes glinting with mischief and hope. Caitlin smiled, feeling lighter than she had in years. "I go home. I learn to speak honestly, and I do not let myself disappear again." Amanda hugged her gently, and for a long moment they stood together, silent and content. Inside, Tom slept peacefully, and Caitlin knew they had both changed. Maybe the path ahead would not be easy, but it would be real. A final message pinged on her phone. One last anonymous note. "Sometimes, to find yourself, you have to lose yourself first." Caitlin laughed softly, closing the message and letting the night air fill her lungs. She turned back inside, closing the door on shadows and stepping into the light of her new beginning.